Alvin York was a man of the mountains in Tennessee. Before the war, he had a wild life, but then he found God and became a strict Christian. This changed everything. He believed the Bible taught him that killing was wrong. When the United States entered World War I, York was drafted. He didn't want to go. He even wrote a note on his draft card that said, "Don't want to fight." He asked the Army to make him a conscientious objector, CO, which means someone who refuses to fight because of religious beliefs. But the Army said no, because his small church was not officially recognized. York was forced to join the Army, but he was torn inside. He felt a deep conflict between his duty to his country and his faith in God. York was a phenomenal shooter, thanks to all his time hunting in the backwoods. His officers, Captain Danforth and Major Buxton, were also religious men. They didn't just punish him, they sat down with him for long talks. They used the Bible to show him that sometimes a Christian must fight to defend what is right and to save others. They convinced York that this war against Germany was a moral fight. York was given 10 days of leave to go home and pray for an answer. He came back to his unit, a changed man. He was now sure that God had a plan for him to fight in the war, and that he would be safe because of this mission. This belief that he was fighting for a divine purpose is the single most important reason he was able to go into battle without hesitation.
By October 1918, Corporal Alvin York was fighting in France as part of the massive Meuse-Argonne offensive. This was the last big push to try and end the war. York's unit, the 328th Infantry Regiment, was having a very hard time. German machine guns were placed on high hills, creating what they called a killing zone in the valley below. The German position was blocking the entire American advance. The main target the Americans had to capture was a crucial German supply line called the Decauville Railroad, located deep behind the German front line. To do this, those machine guns had to be stopped. Before dawn on October 8th, York was sent out with a small patrol of 16 other soldiers. The patrol's mission was risky and desperate. They had to sneak far behind enemy lines, a move almost always avoided in trench warfare. They were supposed to swing around the German firing positions and attack the machine guns from the back, where the enemy wouldn't expect it. This small group was lightly armed, carrying only their M1903 rifles and pistols. They had no heavy weapons to help them. They had to rely only on surprise and speed to get past the main German defenses. Their success or failure would decide if the American regiment could move forward, making this tiny 17-man group crucial to the fate of the entire operation. The soldiers moved through the dark, foggy, wooded terrain, carefully staying silent to avoid detection. This was stealth work, more like hunting than traditional battle, and it played directly into York's natural skills.
As the American patrol moved quietly through the thick woods, they went deeper into German territory than they intended. They finally reached a small clearing by a stream. What they found there was a completely unexpected German outpost, a small headquarters and command post. The German soldiers were completely surprised, gathered casually in the morning light, likely having breakfast. Most of their weapons were stacked or put aside. Among the startled enemy was a German major, the commander of the entire local area, and his staff. The Americans moved instantly, rushing the position before the Germans could react. They successfully forced the surrender of a large number of enemy soldiers, including the commanding major. This capture was a huge intelligence victory. The patrol had accomplished a secondary mission, but the primary target, the machine guns on the hills, was still firing heavily. As the Americans began to gather their captives, the situation instantly became deadly. Unseen German machine gunners, positioned high up on the ridgeline and completely unaware that their own headquarters had been captured, saw the mass of moving men below.
Thinking they were firing on advancing American troops, they shifted their weapons and opened a powerful, concentrated fire directly onto the group. The Americans were caught completely in the open. The fire was devastating. Within minutes, 6 Americans were killed, and 3 were wounded. All 3 of the patrol's leaders were hit, leaving Corporal York as the highest-ranking, uninjured soldier. He was now in command of a shattered patrol and over 100 German prisoners, all trapped under murderous fire. The German machine gun fire was horrific. Rounds from the MG-08 heavy machine guns poured down from the hills, tearing through the trees and making the area impossible to cross. 6 of York's comrades were instantly dead, and 3 more were badly wounded. The small patrol was essentially destroyed. York found himself pinned down, surrounded by American dead and dying men, and facing an impossible situation. He had to silence multiple machine guns, manage a huge number of German prisoners, and save the few remaining American soldiers. Retreating was not an option. Moving an inch would invite being shot to pieces. York made a quick, cold assessment. He ordered the 7 surviving American soldiers to take cover and guard the captured German prisoners. He then made the decisive move to take on the machine gun nests himself. He knew he couldn't win by just firing back without a target. His entire plan relied on using the knowledge he had gained hunting in Tennessee. He realized the German gunners to fire down on him had to briefly expose their heads above the trench to aim their heavy weapons. This small moment of exposure was all he needed. York moved quickly, using the brush and the uneven ground for cover, looking for a clear line of sight. He understood that he was facing the entire German flank, but he also realized that he was the only chance his comrades had. The simple Tennessee farmer was about to become the single most lethal American soldier on the entire battlefield that day.
York began his attack on the machine gun nests from a careful, hidden position. He did not engage in wild, panicked firing. His tactic was precise and methodical, using his skills as a crack shot against small, fast-moving targets. He used his M1903 Springfield rifle to deadly effect. York's strategy was simple: target only the German gunners. He focused on hitting the enemy soldiers who were operating the guns, knowing that if the gunner was taken out, the deadly fire would stop. He knew that the Germans had to raise their heads to aim, giving him a split-second target. York would fire a single, accurate shot, then immediately shift his body to appear as if he had moved further away or was part of a larger unit. This psychological tactic was brilliant. The Germans believed they were under attack by a well-trained squad, not a lone man. York's own description of the battle in his diary is chillingly simple. "Every time I saw a head, I just touched it off." He didn't waste a single bullet on anything but the enemy gunners, systematically silencing one machine gun after another. This steady, accurate shooting stopped the immediate threat of continuous fire and completely confused the German troops. He moved forward cautiously, using his rifle to destroy the enemy's ability to fight back. He continued this precise, rapid sniping until the machine gun fire coming down the hill was reduced to scattered, ineffective shots. His calculated movements were key. He shot, moved, and stayed hidden, forcing the Germans to expose themselves to try and find him.
Just as York was silencing the distant machine gunners with his rifle, the battle suddenly shifted to close-quarters combat. A new, terrifying threat emerged. A secondary group of 6 German soldiers suddenly charged out of a trench nearby. They were attacking with bayonets fixed to their rifles, rushing York to try and overwhelm him. This desperate counterattack forced York to instantly drop his long rifle and draw his sidearm, the M1911 .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol. This quick transition from long-range sniping to close-quarters defense was a testament to his composure under fire. York reacted with a ruthless method he learned from his hunting days, which he called the turkey shoot method. When a flock of turkeys is surprised, the ones closest to the shooter fly away immediately, but the ones farther away often stand still for a moment out of confusion. York applied this idea to the charging soldiers. He shot the farthest 6 German soldiers first, then rapidly moved his pistol fire inward, dropping the remaining soldiers closer to him. The powerful .45 caliber rounds were devastating at short range. He successfully dropped all 6 charging enemy soldiers before any of them could cover the short distance to his position. This was a pivotal moment in the fight. Had even one bayonet reached him, his mission would have ended in failure. Having neutralized this immediate direct threat with his pistol, York quickly reloaded and switched back to his Springfield rifle to continue his assault on the remaining machine gunners on the high ground. His action here accounted for 6 confirmed kills using only his sidearm, securing his flank and preventing the total destruction of his patrol.
York's relentless, accurate fire finally broke the German resistance. He had systematically silenced the machine guns and defeated the bayonet charge without being hit himself. The surviving German commander, a lieutenant, had been watching the impossible action unfold. He saw his machine gun crews and his attacking soldiers fall, one after another, to the fire of a single, unseen American. The lieutenant concluded that this force was far too large and well-trained to fight. He believed he was facing an entire company of American soldiers, not one isolated man. Convinced the battle was lost, the German officer made the decision to surrender his entire force. The German lieutenant, who, fortunately, spoke some English, stood up from his concealed position and shouted down to York, "If you won't shoot any more, I will make them give up." York, achieving his goal of neutralizing the threat, immediately accepted the surrender. He ordered the lieutenant to gather his surviving men from the trenches and dugouts. The sight of the German officer taking orders from a single American corporal was one of the most remarkable moments of the entire war. The surviving German soldiers, stunned and demoralized, began pouring out of their trenches. At this point, York was in charge of approximately 80 to 90 German prisoners gathered from the command post and the surrounding machine gun positions. His primary objective had been achieved, and the secondary mission of taking prisoners had turned into an incredible, unexpected victory.
With the area cleared, Corporal York's focus shifted to the extremely difficult task of bringing his large group of prisoners back to the main American lines, which were still far away. He used the most vital prisoner, the German lieutenant, to help control the massive column of captives. York ordered the German officer to march the entire column of men ahead of him, effectively using the prisoners as a human shield against any hidden German resistance. York followed close behind, his rifle ready. The 7 remaining uninjured American soldiers took up positions on the flanks. The march back through the contested ground was not easy. As the immense column moved through the chaotic battle zone, they stumbled upon various other isolated German outposts and scattered units. These enemy groups, seeing the staggering number of German prisoners being marched by just a few Americans, often surrendered immediately without a fight. They also assumed they were facing the spearhead of a massive, overwhelming American attack force. York's prisoner count quickly swelled as he absorbed these additional surrendering Germans along the route. The final count of enemy soldiers York delivered to his battalion command post reached an incredible 132 German soldiers. This huge column of captured men was an unbelievable sight for the American troops in the rear. During the march, the column even came under heavy fire from stray American and German artillery, forcing York to immediately organize the prisoners to run for cover to prevent any more bloodshed, demonstrating his continued responsibility for them. Upon reaching the command post, his company commander, Captain Danforth, stared at the massive column, asking York how he had done it. York, always humble, simply replied, "I just kept marching 'em down." The immediate impact of Corporal York's action was critical and decisive.
The complete clearance of the German flank and the neutralization of the machine gun complex allowed the 328th Infantry Regiment to immediately move forward, successfully achieving their goal of reaching the vital Decauville Railroad supply line. The unbelievable scale of the action, a handful of men capturing a force larger than their company, demanded an official military investigation to verify every detail. The inquiry confirmed the essential facts of the engagement. York's heroic one-man action was initially recognized with the Distinguished Service Cross, which was soon upgraded to the nation's highest award for valor, the Medal of Honor. The final confirmed numbers for the single action on October 8, 1918, stand as one of the most amazing feats of individual courage in American history. York was credited with leading the patrol that resulted in the capture of 132 German soldiers, including a field officer, and the silencing of 35 machine guns. Furthermore, he was personally credited with the killing of at least 25 enemy soldiers during the attack. The Medal of Honor citation specifically praised his single-handed decision to silence the machine gun nest, which was pouring deadly and incessant fire upon his platoon. The entire operation was an unparalleled demonstration of a unique blend of religious conviction, extraordinary personal courage, and the unmatched marksmanship of a Tennessee mountain man. York, the man who refused to kill, ultimately became the soldier whose actions saved an entire regiment.